It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I'm thrilled to bring you an old friend of mine, somebody I knew from when she was still living in New York. We did some business together, we had some fun together, and we've really built an amazing relationship that has stayed to be over the many, many years. Stephanie Cartin is the leader and one of the co-founders of Entreprenista. She is also one of the co-founders of Socialfly. She has shared her personal journey in fertility and infertility very openly, and has educated many women leaders and women in her journey and how she's navigated it in running a business. She's also been highlighted in everything from receiving the Smart CEO Bravo Award, a Stevie Award, and I can go on and on. But most importantly, Stephanie, I'm so excited to have you to chat with today.
Well, thank you for having me, Ivy. So good to see you always, and love being able to catch up on podcasts too. This is so fun.
So let's go back to the beginning. We first met, I met you and Courtney when you were building Socialfly. So that was a really early stage in the, social media, ad spend, marketing space. Let's start there a little bit, because what you have built with that and onward is amazing.
Well, thank you. Yes, I remember the first time meeting you and going through your trainings and workshops. And I think, were we there over a weekend, or was it during the week? We did like a whole 2-day.
It was so a 2-day intensive.
2-day intensive, but it was
a long time ago, because I haven't done that in years.
Yes, but I remember it being so impactful to the beginning of our journey building our social media agency. So, Courtney and I started Socialfly, which is a full service social media marketing and influencer agency 12 plus years ago now, initially on the side of our full-time jobs. And you were one of the first coaches that we really worked with in the very early days and helped us really think through a plan on how we were going to build and scale our business.
Which you did.
We did.
You did.
And now we just sold it.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Share a little bit about, because what's interesting is very much in the tech space. And I do it a lot these days in succession planning. And it's interesting for me to see when we're dealing with financial companies and law firms and other types of businesses that have been around a long time. They talk about succession planning later in life. Mm-hmm. Tech companies, which I would say Socialfly was and is today, in a new media marketing company, very often looks at the exit from the beginning stages of the build. Can you share a little bit? Because I think I love it personally, and I find it fascinating.
Well, I'll tell you that we actually were not thinking about building the business to sell when we first started it, because we didn't even know that was a thing. Like, Courtney and I started Socialfly so organically because we wanted to start this business really helping people learn how to create social media strategies for their business, because we just knew it was going to be the way of the future. We were one of the first, first social media agencies back in 2011, 2012, when social media really was in its infancy. And neither of us had come from the tech world or marketing agencies. We both had full-time jobs doing, different things, not in social media. We really just started on the side and realizing how important this was. And we were able to take our skill sets together to start this business. So in the early days, we were just thinking about, how do we service these clients? How do we bring on more clients? How do we learn as much as possible? And it really wasn't until we met our friend and mentor, Cartin, who, I don't know if you know Carrie.
I know Carrie.
Yes. So she was one of the original founders, of course, of Likeable Media. And she became a mentor of ours and really took us under her wing. And she told us to read the book called Built to Sell. So we read that book, it was probably our third year in business. And that's when the light bulb really went off for us that regardless of whether we're going to build the business to ultimately sell the business one day, you always want to be building a sellable business because who knows what could happen in your life or
Yeah.
in your business. And you always want to be setting up the structure of your business to be able to ultimately sell or have a succession plan with the business and be in the
Correct.
best shape possible. So it really wasn't on our minds very early days. It was a few years in. And then we started getting outreach actually from other companies pretty early on within the first few years in business from other companies that were interested in acquiring us. And we just learned a lot about the process over the years, but it wasn't until about 11 years in that we actually ran the process to ultimately sell the business, which we just completed the transaction with the agency that just acquired us this past February.
Which thrills me to no end for you guys. It truly, truly does. Um, so you started Entreprenista. Why? I mean, you had Socialfly going. It was lucrative. It was a great growing business. It was moving and shaking in the market. What caused you to then say, okay, let's start another gig? Let's start, honestly, another side gig to our day business. We did it once. What was that impetus?
Well, we started Entreprenista really almost as this like side content project on the side of running Socialfly, but it really was like part of Entreprenista or part of Socialfly when we started it. So Entreprenista started as our podcast. So while we were running Socialfly, we were always like very ahead of all of the marketing trends and the
Yeah.
latest things on social. So I don't know if you remember, but Courtney and I had a Facebook Live show. It was called Social Live. And we did that show, maybe it was 3 years or so that we were doing this Facebook Live show, getting, thousands of viewers every single week on Facebook Live. And we were early in that Facebook Live world, right? And then what started to happen was because of the quick growth and success of Socialfly, so many women founders were reaching out to the two of us all the time, wanting to go out to coffee and wanting to pick our brain and just wanting to hear how we were able to do what we did. And Courtney and I are the type of people we like to help everyone, but
Yeah.
very quickly
Yes,
we
you both
realized,
are.
yes, we realized it was physically impossible and not scalable to go out to coffee with everyone all day and run a business. So we were like, how can we help as many women as possible, but actually do it at scale? So our initial aha moment was like, oh, why don't we start a podcast and
Yeah.
we can share all of these incredible stories of women like yourself that are building these companies and have so much insight and advice to share. So that's what we did. We ended up pivoting our Facebook Live show, Social Live, that was no more. And we decided to then start our podcast, Entreprenista, in November of 2018. And the podcast really took off from that first episode. We were pretty early in the podcasting world,
Yeah.
especially women that were podcasting about entrepreneurship. Now, of course, there's so many incredible podcasts that are out there, which is so amazing to see. But back then, we were like one of the first podcasts that was solely focused on women's entrepreneurship and sharing these stories. So we got a lot of traction early on, but really, Entreprenista was just our podcast for the first year. We were creating content every week and organically growing our Instagram accounts. It wasn't until the pandemic when everything really changed and we were getting messages now from our listeners and our followers. We were hearing things like, I lost my job during the pandemic. I want to start a business. Can you help? Or I need to pivot. Can you help? And Courtney and I were like, we need to help everyone. But the only way to actually do what we've now done over the past 4 years is going to be one of us actually focuses on it. So we made the decision during the pandemic. Well, we made a lot of big decisions then. One, we both moved down to
Boy, did
Florida.
you.
Yes, we made a lot of changes. So we both moved
You both
down.
made a lot of changes.
We moved down to Florida. Courtney's in Miami now. I'm in Palm Beach Gardens. And we really built out a plan. We worked with Leslie Grossman, who we were working with at the
Sure.
time, and built out this whole plan to really be able for the two of us to divide and conquer. So we decided Courtney would stay focused on growing and scaling and ultimately selling Socialfly. And I would focus now on building out Entreprenista to be what it is today, which now, 4 years later, we are a full media company and a membership community, which is called the Entreprenista League, where we have over 2,000 members now, where our members are connecting, networking, doing business together. We do virtual programming, in-person programming every single week for our community. And it's just been so incredible to see the results that our members have been able to achieve. So it was 2020, that pivotal year that changed everything. But back to your original question, it didn't start out as an idea to like actually have Entreprenista as a business. It really started out as creating content and community for women founders.
And what's interesting is, when you look at ideal businesses that are successful, ideal to me, it's looking at a business that solves a problem in the marketplace. And what happened during the pandemic is your community from the podcast and from your listeners and from the community you built was showing up with a consistent problem that was coming through significantly, right? And gaining traction consistently. And then you said, okay, now we have to look at this problem and see how we can help the problem. And then all of a sudden you have a business.
Yes, that is what happened. And we did build out a plan. So once we saw this like reoccurring theme coming up from everyone reaching out, and Courtney and I were having all of these challenges too, right? We're in the middle of the pandemic, running an agency business. Some clients are pausing contracts. We also had the benefit of being a social media agency. And that was like the only way to actually reach people at the time because no one was getting together in person. So we were going through like all of these ups and downs and challenges at the same time. And we put together our own like cohort of other agency owners during that time. We were getting together every single week and sharing ideas. And we were like, we need to bring this to everyone because this is what everyone needs. Like, this is how we're solving it. We need to do this at scale to help everyone because we were all stuck inside for like 1 to 2 years and not able to get out there and meet people. And it was such a hard, lonely time. And so many people were losing jobs at that time and wanting to start businesses. And we knew that we had been through it for the past, 9 years at that point. Like, we knew how to help people because we were doing it ourselves.
So let's touch on right before the pandemic, you started going through a challenging time. You're running a business and one of the first things that you and I did when we got on and said hello, is like, oh, can you pronounce your last name? Because I met you as your maiden name.
Yes.
So, we know each other a long time. And you were in the journey of extending your family, which having a child when you own, it's having a child when you own a business, and this is a new indent. It's a process to begin with, and looking at it as leading a business and growing a family. And you had other challenges.
Yeah, so we started going through dealing with infertility challenges. This is going back to like 2017 and 2018 now. My daughter just turned 5 now a month ago. So time really does fly, but to me, it feels like just yesterday. I was sitting in my office, staring at my phone, waiting for calls from doctors, waiting for emails to come through from doctors, and just navigating this whole fertility journey while trying to build Socialfly. And it was so challenging. There's a few things that really helped me while I was going through the process. I think the first thing that actually made it easier was the fact that I was running my own business, and I set my own schedule. If I need to leave for an hour to go to an appointment, or I need to come in an hour late to my office, it's our business. So I can do that. And I would think all the time and just see in the waiting room in the doctor's office, and I'd be thinking about these other women that are there that aren't in that position, that have to have conversations like with their employers or their coworkers. And for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so lucky that I've been able to put myself in this position that, I'm in charge. And aside from just letting my team know and sharing with Courtney, it did help me by having that flexibility. And the other thing is really just surrounding myself with community. And I feel like that has just been the theme of my life. And now our business is really just reaching out and sharing and asking for help. And my daughter would not be here today, Ivy, if it were not from sharing what I was going through on social media, because I was able to connect with the right friends who introduced me to the right doctors and the right resources to help her come into this world safely. So all roads lead back to social media.
And you know what? I think it's so important. And one of the things I'm hearing you say that I know we both agree on so strongly is the network you build, the community you build, the network you build, how important it is, to surround yourself with people who are resources, who are, I just had something, from one thing to another. And then I met with somebody else. They're like, oh, this is who you need to talk to. This is, and it's like, and let me set you up. And I was like, it's like 1, 2, 3. It happened because I'm openly sharing what's going on with my community. One of the reasons I got a TEDx all those years, a few years ago, is I put out you know me a long time. So I'll say, you know me and my goals, like January, like I'm on this, and I did a newsletter and I put out a bunch of years ago, a newsletter was like, here's a couple of things that I'm working towards. And one of them was a TEDx. And the next thing I get was, oh, did you meet Frank? You should meet Frank. You should meet this. 1, 2, 3. It's not that
Yes.
easy, but it's building the relationships in the community for resources and to help support us as we're going through different things.
Yes. Everything in life and in business comes back to the community around you and the deep relationships that you build. You can't build a business or build your life by yourself in a room without anyone around you.
It's true.
It can happen. I mean, I guess it can. You're just not going to go very far and you're going to be quite lonely. But when you surround yourself with people and you share what you're looking for, you share how you could use other people's help, you share how you can be of service and help other people, that's when
Exactly.
everything really goes full circle.
So I want to ask you, what has surprised you in this journey?
What has surprised me in this journey? I would say just how like easy and organic everything has been, how one thing has led to the next. And like looking back now, our journey building multiple businesses over the past 12 plus years, it has not been easy by
No,
any
no, no,
means.
no, 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 no. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Every business has a journey to
Yes.
it. And every journey might have a few detours in the road. A highway might be closed. You might have to go south when you were meaning to go north, east when you might, it's a journey to build and grow something. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Yeah. But one thing really has led to the next. So even when there are these really challenging times that we have gone through, something comes from that to then lead to the next thing. And then that next door opens or the next big thing happens. So that's what has felt like very fluid and easy. It's just been like, okay, if I know I'm going through this right now, it's going to lead to something else up to where I'm meant to be or where we're meant to be. And that's what's been, I don't know if it's surprising. It's just been like nice of how everything has just evolved
Yeah.
and fit together.
It is really nice. It is really nice when I think one of the things I admire and respect about both of you is your openness to opportunity and your openness to connecting.
Mhm.
And I think it's that openness to connecting and opportunity that has truly been the North Star in your journey of watching you guys do so many different things, even sometimes from afar when we don't connect for a while.
Yeah.
Um, but it's that openness to opportunity and connecting that has led you from one to the next to the next. And it truly is a joy to see. I will say that.
Well, thank you. I just genuinely, I love people. I love connecting with people. And then I love being able to connect people to each other. So just as you were sharing, Ivy, about the story of you met someone and they were ready to connect you to someone, or you put out there you want a TED
Yeah,
talk and someone wants to introduce you, like that's the best. When you see that you're able to make these connections, like that's where the impact happens because now these two people are able to do business together. Or for you, you now got a TED talk and now you were just able to impact millions of people who likely saw your TED talk,
exactly.
even if they weren't live, but on YouTube. So, so much can happen by just connecting and helping each other. And I just truly believe there's so much opportunity for everyone. There's so much business to go around. And when we're able to really focus on collaborating over competition, that's when all the real magic happens.
It's so what's your vision? What's next for you guys? What's next for you?
For Entreprenista, what's next is we are building out these smaller cohort groups within our Entreprenista League community. So we're launching a group specifically for agency owners that's going to be led by our mentor, Carrie Carpin. So we're very excited
Lovely.
about that. We're launching a community builder cohort and power group that I'm actually going to be leading along with an incredible woman named Ingrid Reed. We connected on Instagram and became friends through Instagram during the pandemic. That's what I'm saying. All the great
It
connections
all
happen
happens.
when you reach out on social media. So she's an incredible community builder. So we're launching a community builder cohort because so many people come to me now and say, how did you build the Entreprenista League? How did you do that so quickly? How do I do this for my business? So we've just learned that the way to make the most impact is really to be able to take all this information and content and put it together in one resource and do it at scale. So we're launching some of these smaller groups within our Entreprenista League. We'll
Love
have
it.
our next Entreprenista 100 that'll be launching next year, and so much more events. So we're very much looking forward just to the continued growth of Entreprenista and continuing to make as much impact as we can.
Stephanie, how can our listeners connect to you and learn more about you?
You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn or Instagram. I am at Steph Jill Cartin. And to find Entreprenista, we are at Entreprenistas with an S at the end of Entreprenista on Instagram. And you can head over to entreprenista.com/join to learn more about joining our Entreprenista League community.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today on Her Success Story. Listeners, this is how we close the show. Take a moment and take a breath. Think about the conversation Stephanie and I had and the piece of it, your takeaway, your aha. What was that one thing that meant something to you? And make a decision on the action you're going to take because of it. It's because of all the actions we all take is what leads us to the successes we live. Thank you for joining me here on Her Success Story. See you next time.